feel like I'm hovering right above it.
Okay. Do you see anything when you're hovering above it? Do you see anything below you?
Yeah, grass, long grass.
Okay. What else?
Um, just the earth. Um,
When you say the earth, um, do you mean like trees and grass and things like that, or do you actually mean like from a far away vantage point?
no, I'm up close. It's
Oh,
yeah, it's uh, I guess some type of meadow.
got it. Okay. Okay.
The grass is blowing in the wind.
Okay. Are you able to make it down to the surface where you feel like you can be planted and grounded on the surface?
Yes.
Let's do that. And then when you do that, we'll go through a little exercise here, but first tell me if it feels like you have a physical body or if you don't have a physical body.
Can't tell. I don't think so.
Okay. Well, let's just be firmly planted here in this scene then. And so, do you feel like you are male or female or genderless energy? What do you feel like?
Um, more female than male.
Okay. And do you feel young? Do you feel old? Kind of in the middle,
Yeah.
20s, 30s, 40s?
Yeah, 20s.
Okay. Nice. Do you feel healthy, unhealthy?
Yes, healthy.
And if you were to look down at where your feet would be, do you see any feet? And if you do they have any shoes on them? Are they barefoot? Or do you not see any feet at all?
Oh, I don't see any feet.
Okay. And do you feel like you're carrying anything or have anything on you?
Yeah, I do have something with me. I don't know what it is though. Um, Almost like a backpack, but not.
Okay. Okay. And if you were to take a snapshot of that time and that place, what kind of emotions do you feel? Do you feel contentment, fulfillment, happiness, sadness, depression, anxiety, frustration? Like, what do you feel as you stand there and look at the meadow, the grass in the meadow?
Um, Freedom, liberation.
Did you say separation?
Liberation.
Liberation. Okay. Do you feel like you have any sort, does it feel like this is Earth or does it feel like someplace else?
Oh, I don't know. It's a good question. I don't know.
Okay. And if I were to ask you, do you feel like you have a family? What would you say to that?
Um, uh, like I have parents, but not a family of my own.
So let's do this. Let's go to the place where your parents are. So I guess it might be what you would call home or wherever your parents spend the majority of their time. Let's go stand outside in front of it. Looking at it from the outside now that we're there, I want you to describe it for me. What does it look like?
Keep second guessing everything that comes in.
What was the first image that you saw?
Kind of a rundown, real small mountain town home.
Okay. And does it have a porch?
Yeah,
Windows?
yes.
1 story, 2 stories,
3.
3 stories. Okay. And if you were to go inside at mealtime, what's happening? What's taking place? Who's there?
It's almost like I can't pin down the time frame, so it's either just my parents, quiet, lonely, or it's bustling with other people, kids.
Okay. And so when you said you can't pin down the time, what do you mean? Like if it's maybe a holiday or celebration or something versus just an average day?
Yeah, like what time frame am I visiting this house
Oh,
again?
got
After
it.
the kids have
So,
gone away, or
so let's do it at the age where you came into the scene in your 20s.
yeah, okay,
Let's,
so it's quieter.
okay. So it's just parents, is that what you said?
I think so, yeah.
And as you look at dad, what kind of feelings or impressions do you have about dad and your relationship with dad?
He's sad,
Any idea
quiet.
why?
No, well, uh, yeah, I don't know why. I get the impression that I work really hard to make him happy or smile or laugh, and I fail a lot.
And what about mom? What are your impressions of mom as you look at mom?
Hardworking. Oh, she can't be too happy because then he would be like left behind.
And what's your relationship like with mom?
Pretty good.
Okay.
He has more fun when she's not around him.
Okay. Okay. All right, let's leave that scene and let's do this. Let's move forward to an important day in that lifetime. So, a day that you would consider to be important when something is happening. So, we've now moved forward to an important day. What is happening and what do you see?
Um, I, I guess there's a wedding,
Whose wedding do you know?
like one of the cousins or something.
Okay. And it's a happy time, I'm assuming?
Um, yeah,
A lot of people there?
Yeah, a lot of kids.
A lot of kids. All right, let's do this. Let's leave that scene and let's move forward to another important day. So, a day that you consider to be important when something is happening. So, we've now moved forward to another important day. What is happening and what do you see?
Is it weird that this is hard? It's almost,
So, did you get any first impressions?
yeah.
What was that, the first impression you got?
I, it's, I don't know if it's real or not, but I'm pregnant, really
Okay.
pregnant.
Okay. And tell me about that.
Like anticipation.
Okay. Is there a husband around?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And how do you feel about husband?
Good. He's good. We're excited, I think.
And let's do this. Let's do that one more time. Let's leave that scene and move forward to one more important day in that lifetime. So, a day that you consider to be important or memorable when something is happening. So, we've now moved forward to an important day. What is happening and what do you see?
Um, Somebody died, but there's like inheritance. So it's a mix of sad for the death, but we weren't aware of this inheritance.
So, it was a nice surprise, I'm assuming, huh?
Right.
And does the inheritance, is it enough to go on and impact your life in a positive way?
Yeah. Could. Yeah. It's on my husband's side, so I'm trying to stay quiet about it because it's not my.
Mm. Okay, so let's do this. Let's leave that scene. And I want you to move forward in that life to however long in the future it is, whether it's days, weeks, months, years, to the time just before you take your last breath. So
Okay.
moving forward to the time just before you take your last breath, and I want you to tell me what is happening, where are you, and what's going on.
Second floor in a bed, and the windows are open. It's really beautiful outside.
You feel old?
Yeah, old-ish. Yeah.
Are you by yourself or is anyone with you?
Um, just there are other people in the house, but nobody's with me in the bedroom.
And do you know that this is going to be the time that you're going to pass to the other side, or are you not really aware of it?
Yes, I am aware. I'm filled
Well,
with gratitude and excitement.
okay. Gratitude for what?
Um, the life I had, the beauty of the day. I
And what's exciting about it?
think there's somebody on the other side I get to go be with finally. It's like going
Okay.
home.
Oh, okay. So let's do this. Um, like going, let's go to the time just after you take your last breath. So now your spirit has left your body and you're looking at the scene from above it and you're looking down at the body. What are your thoughts and feelings as you look down at that scene, at the body there?
But I lived a really good life, and that body served me really well. And more gratitude.
Okay, so after that, what do you do next? Do you hang around for a while or where do you go? What do you do?
Yeah, because my daughter was there taking care of me, my grown daughter,
Okay.
and she's sad, but it was expected. So yeah, so I stick around to kind of keep her in love, in safe love or something.
Okay. Do you try to talk to her at all or get her attention?
Um, yeah, real subtly though.
And do you feel like she senses you or hears you?
Yeah,
What does she do to make you think she hears you?
she'll sort of stop the crying, and get quiet and breathe a really deep breath.
And so what do you do after that, after you hang around with her for a while?
Get to go meet like, my mom, who had passed before, and husband, I think, who had passed before.
How do you get
There
to
are
go meet?
a lot of people to finally meet again, greet again.
How do you get there?
Uh, just a thought.
Oh, okay. Sounds like it was really quick then, right?
Yeah,
And so I bet that's a happy time, seeing everyone that passed before you that you got to be reunited with. Is that right?
yeah.
Nice. So after you spend some time with them, what do you do next?
Check check back in on my daughter and her family quite a bit, and
And how do you do that? What does that look like? Is it just a thought and you're there, or how does that work?
Yeah, it is as quick and easy as a thought. Um, send a lot of love, a lot of love, loving energy.
And so, hopefully, this doesn't sound like a dumb question, but how do you send, when you're on the other side, how do you send loving energy to someone who's on earth? What does that look like? Or how do you do that?
It's like a there's so much love on the other side that it's really easy to just um, bathe them in it, uh, figuratively speaking.
So, is it like an intention or thought projection or
Yeah,
something like that? Okay.
yeah, exactly.
And do you ever get the sense that your daughter and her family feel it?
Yes.
And what makes you think that they're picking up on that?
Um, I don't know. Maybe there's little boys. She's got like two little boys, and when they're sleeping, it's really easy to do.
So do you
My
feel like,
daughter listens.
go ahead, your
My
daughter
daughter
what?
listens for me and tries to feel.
So do you ever feel her thinking about you? And that's when at any time when she thinks about you, do you feel drawn down there with your thought to just have that time to go visit her? Or is it kind of at your own whim?
It's at my will. My
Do you ever feel her calling to you?
yes,
Do you go then sometimes?
yes, but it's so quick and easy, just like the thought.
And so does
I
it feel like you're down on their level or kind of above them, like floating-ish and looking down at them? Or how does it feel when you go visit them?
yeah, mostly it's above and projecting that love, and then sometimes like when they're sleeping, when the boys are sleeping, then I go and get a little bit like closer and
So what else do you do after you were done? In between, I guess, in between the time when you're visiting your daughter and her family, what else are you doing?
learning,
Oh, tell me what that looks like.
learning what everybody's role was and what they were learning and what I was doing and learning and learning how we're all connected.
And does it feel like it's a group learning? Are you by yourself? Are you with some guides? Are you with soulmates? Like, how does that work? Soul
Yeah,
family?
definitely group learning.
So is
Um,
there a teacher or you're just all kind of learning off of each other?
I'm the student because I'm new. So they're teaching me yeah, because I'm sort of new.
And so is it a lot of discussion and back and forth, or do you see movies or pictures or replay images of lives, or how does that look like?
Um, I mean, somebody's explaining it, but it's like a telepathic knowing or remembering, I should say. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's a lot of that. Like, oh, that makes sense.
And once you do all the learning that you desire or that you want or need to do, what do you do next?
I don't know. It's exhausting being and as a human with all that ego and fear, and so like maybe rest.
Okay. Okay. You know what that looks like to rest? Do you go into like a room or a pod or a bubble, or do you know what that looks like?
Huh, no. Um, it's almost like the act of not being human, not in a physical body, is the rest itself. Um, there's like for some reason I see kittens. It's like everything fun that you would have wanted to do as a human, but you can't because you gotta go to the bathroom or get chores done or go to work or something. So I don't know why I keep seeing these kittens, but I get to go just be with the kittens.
Hmm. Nice. Do you feel like there ever comes a time or a point where you do decide to incarnate back into a body again?
I don't want to.
Do you
Suppose
feel
eventually.
like you're being drawn to it, or like there's a pull to do it, or someone's telling you, hey, it's time? Does anything like that happen
Not now, no.
at some point?
Yeah, there's like no desire though on my part. Like I just want to play with the kittens. Like I don't want to. I don't want to go back. Uh, It's almost like an
Okay.
agreement to go back to teach someone or
Oh,
something. So like obligation.
but it's not really exciting or what you really want to do. Is that what you're saying?
Um, yeah, it's like yeah, yeah.
Okay. So let's do this. Let's just go ahead and drift away from that scene, away from the life of that woman. We're drifting and floating away from that life, leaving that woman there to continue on her own journey. She found great peace. She'll find more peace. We're leaving her there to continue on her own journey. She will find what she's supposed to find. We're leaving her there to continue on her own path. And now I want all of the consciousness and personality of Lyndsie to once again return to the body and fully integrate back into the body. And may I speak to Lyndsie's higher self, please?
Yeah.
I have permission to speak to Lyndsie's higher self.
Yeah.
I respect the power of the higher self because I know the higher self takes care of Lyndsie's body and does a very good job. I also know that the higher self has the records of everything that has ever happened to Lyndsie in this lifetime and all other lifetimes that she has ever lived. So I respect the power of the higher self, and I always ask for permission to speak to it and ask questions. Do I have permission to ask questions?
Yes.
I know her higher self could have brought forth many different lifetimes for Lyndsie to see today, and you chose to bring forward the lifetime where she was the woman who ended up dying in that bedroom and her daughter was taking care of her. Why did you pick that lifetime for her to see today?
I don't know if it was a recent one or just like a like a good one. Can't.
Is there
Yeah,
any?
it was one of the good ones.
Oh, okay. Is there anyone from that lifetime that she's currently incarnated with here in this lifetime?
Yeah,
And who would that be?
a lot of people. Um,
What about the dad? Is he here now? The dad from that life?
I think the dad was my grandpa.
Okay. What about the mom?
I don't know who the mom was.
Okay. And what about her daughter?
Like a friend of mine.
Okay. And what about her husband in that lifetime?
Oh gosh, he super familiar. I don't know who he is in this life, but his energy is very familiar.
Is there anyone else that you can tell who might be in this lifetime with her?
That is really hard to connect all the. I don't know. Everything
Okay.
feels familiar,
Okay.
but I can't quite pinpoint who was what.
Okay. And are you, as her higher self, are you able to upgrade Lyndsie's frequency now so she can be at the highest frequency possible during the rest of this session?
Yeah, she's really dense. There's a density to it.
And what's dense? Her energy?
Yeah, her body, her energy. Yeah.
And what is making it so dense?
Grief.
Oh. Are you able, as her higher self, to help clear a pathway? And I almost feel like it's like after a big snowstorm and there's lots and lots of snow, and sometimes it could be piled almost as high as somebody's house. That's how I'm envisioning it. Is it possible to clear a pathway for her to have the best session possible and increase her frequency and remove that grief, or remove enough of that grief for her to have a breakthrough in this session?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Could you show her what that looks like and tell us what you're doing as you do it? Describe it.
Coming in through the crown chakra and out the third eye, like Tracy showed me. And then it's like the throat and the heart are really closed, but the lower chakras are actually quite open and grounded and um,
So were you able to clear enough of a pathway to upgrade her frequency, or are you still working on it?
I think so.
Okay. Does Lyndsie have any issues in her body on any level that she came here in this lifetime to heal that might be left over from a past life? And if so, what is that?
Um, just residual like learning. I think.
But no like physical issues affecting her body that she came here to heal from, left over from a past life?
she definitely uses her bodies till, the last drop of oil. But that's good. That's what they're made for. The right elbow is an old one that keeps showing up.
And what is affecting that? What happened in a past life that's still affecting her in her right elbow?
I don't know. I don't know if I broke it or must have fractured it at some point. Then it didn't heal correctly.
Are you able to heal that in this lifetime for her?
I can try. It's really dense.
So is the grief that she has surrounding her almost like a shield or a wall around her?
It's stuck. Oh, it's just Lord, it's just dense inside.
So what would it take to decrease the density of this and make it less dense?
Disconnect. You did disconnect from her.
Disconnect what?
Disconnect from her.
Who's going to disconnect from her?
The higher self needs to disconnect from Lyndsie now. It's like they're too connected.
Okay. And can we call in someone else to help us with this session? So she can
Sure.
get answers to all these questions and some healing. Like, would the law of knowledge or wisdom or truth or something like that, or maybe even her guides be able to help us with this session?
Yeah.
And who would be the best one to help her?
Yeah, the wisdom one was good.
Okay. So can we call in the law of wisdom to help us with the rest of this session?
Yeah. So.
So do I have permission to speak to the law of wisdom on Lyndsie's behalf and ask questions on Lyndsie's behalf?
Yeah.
Okay. Lyndsie has a number of questions that she wanted to ask in this session. And one thing her higher self was saying was that there was a really dense energy, a very dense energy of grief around her. What can you tell us to help her make it less dense so she can move forward and make progress in her life now here on earth?
It's going to take layers. It's going to take time. Feet on the earth. Go out. Let it go out the bottom. Trees, roots. It's just going to take time over and over and over again. Just shed in layers.
Is there anything that you are able to do? Is there anything that you're able to do to help start this process or give it a boost?
Yes, I'm already doing it.
Okay, could you tell us what you're doing as you do it?
Just pulling a lot of the energy down and out through the feet. It's really heavy, so down into the earth so that it can be cleansed and recycled and taken up back up through the roots and out the leaves of the trees when it's ready.
Is that one way that Mother Earth recycles energy?
Yeah, especially heavy, dense energy like that.
So does that have anything to do with trees shedding their leaves? Is that part of the process too? Is that why they do that?
Um, when the tree recycles like that, it just allows it to get better and better at taking up energy through the earth and then letting it out.
So is there anything that Lyndsie could do on a regular basis to help with this process of what you just started? Or will it just kind of automatically continue to go almost like playing in the background?
Yeah, standing on the earth, grounding meditation with her feet on the earth. Uh, Sitting at the base of trees, like on big roots in the ground. Yeah,
Because are
like a
they then,
magnet.
oh, okay. So like a magnet, they're absorbing some of that grief.
Yeah.
Is this something that is unique to Lyndsie, or is this good advice for anyone who's experienced a death that has caused a lot of grief in someone or
Oh
any?
yes, anyone can use this technique. Yes.
Are there any other techniques that would help her to process this grief and to move it through her?
Throat throat chakras really closed, really tight.
And what will help with that?
Crying.
Crying, okay. And how does that cry? Just opens it up and releases it because it's blocked energy, or how does that work?
Yeah.
Is there anything else she can do to help move this grief?
Not that I can see.
Okay. Lyndsie feels unworthy of being safe and protected and loved as a result of having the dad that she did. Are you able to download Creator's definition of worthiness into her and remove whatever her previous definition of worthiness was that she carried in her? Would that help her?
Yes.
Would you be able to do that now for her, please, and tell her what that looks like as you're doing it?
It looks like the pit of the stomach. Something about the pit of the stomach.
Is that where it's being downloaded to?
Maybe. It has to be changed out. Yeah, exchanged in the pit of the stomach.
Okay. Are you able to do that for her? Exchange that out so she can have creator's definition of worthiness in the pit of her stomach as a resource to draw upon?
Yes.
Could you show her what that looks like and tell us when you're done with that?
Looks like love. Looks like dumping out a big bucket of rocks and then filling the bucket with love and putting it back in the pit, the stomach base there.
Would it also help if she could have the program downloaded into her of I know how to feel worthy? To download the feeling of worthiness into her, would that be beneficial for her?
Yes.
Would you
It's
be able,
also,
I'm
yeah,
sorry?
it's also love. Yeah.
Okay. Could you do that for her, please?
Yeah. It's a very compassionate love. There's an element of forgiveness to it. That's the wisdom part. Yeah.
And when you say that's the wisdom part, um, can you explain a little bit more what you mean by that?
Worthiness will come with forgiveness.
And forgiveness of her father?
Yeah, among many others. Yeah, because they have to be worthy of, she doesn't see them as worthy of forgiveness. But to give forgiveness means that she's worthy of letting go.
So really, by not forgiving them, she's the one that's preventing herself from feeling worthy.
Yeah.
So forgiveness is a thief, in other words, right? As in it robs us from things, from being able to achieve things.
Yeah, holding on to the pain that was inflicted or caused. Yes, prevents self-worth from growing.
Does it prevent anything else?
Yeah,
Unforgiveness? What
yeah.
else?
Um, self-love. Um,
Anything else?
there's safety. There's something about safety. Forgiving feels like it would be unsafe, and that's an illusion. Forgiving means you let go of the wrongdoing, the pain that it caused. You set yourself free.
So some people might live under the illusion that it means they're letting the person who did the wrong stuff off the hook. Is that true?
Oh, quite the opposite. It's letting you off of that hook. It's letting you off of their hook.
Because otherwise they've almost got like a hold on you or a hook in you.
Yeah. Yeah, you're letting that hook, yep, stay in you.
So what can you do or offer Lyndsie um, to help her forgive her father for what he did?
Okay. Imagine taking that rock out of the pit of her stomach and setting it down on the earth. Imagine that.
And so the pit being unforgiveness.
Yeah, the pit being all the pain that he caused.
So if there are multiple people that Lyndsie or anyone else has unforgiveness toward, they could have a whole bucket of rocks in the pit of their stomach. Is that right?
Right. So you just take one out at a time and set it down. You don't even have to walk away from it. Just take it out yourself. Just one rock at a time.
What happens once it's set down on the earth?
Eventually you will walk away from it and the earth will will recycle it, much like the energy that, can get um, um,
And
it'll,
so,
yeah,
sorry, go ahead.
cleansed. It'll
It'll
get
be
cleansed. Yeah.
okay. So what if someone, because I don't know personally how deep Lyndsie's unforgiveness might go to her father, or how easy that process might be, because we have the human mind involved in all of this. So let's say someone takes out a rock and puts it on the earth, and you said they don't even have to walk away from it, but they eventually will. Does that mean that sometimes they'll pick it up and put it back inside and carry it around
Yes.
longer? Okay.
Yes. Some people feel safe. That's why they pick it back up and put it in. It's safe. What do you do with that void once it's there? A lot of people don't know how to go on living without that. They've hung on to it for so long. It's almost a part of the identity, a part of them. Who would they be without that?
And what's the answer to that? Who would they be without it?
That's why they put it back, is to keep that identity. This person wronged me and it hurt me, and that's part of my identity, so I will hang on to this heavy rock.
And so, what change would have to happen in a person, Lyndsie or anyone else, in order to come to the point where they put it down on the earth and don't pick it back up?
Um, yeah, being okay with the feeling of not having it. Maybe trying to fill that with something else. Like a service to others, a new hobby, a new something to learn. You have to fill it, right?
Is that because nature abhors a vacuum? Kind of that saying that we have here on earth. That's why it has to be filled.
Um, yeah, most people are used to carrying it around. So to be light and without it is, it'll just feel weird for a while.
So, does Lyndsie hold unforgiveness still toward her father?
Oh, yes.
So, practicing the rock thing with her father or anyone else, that will help ease that burden and help her be
Yeah.
free of that hook.
Yes.
What about unforgiveness toward her brother? Does she hold any toward him?
Not so much.
What about her sister?
Yeah, not so much.
Okay. Is there anyone else that would be good for her to practice the rock thing that she may hold unforgiveness toward?
Her uncle.
Oh. For what he did to her?
Yeah.
Is there anyone else?
Yeah,
Who's
the
that?
narcissist, her ex-husband.
Anyone else?
Yeah, this latest guy. Yeah, T.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there anyone else she still holds unforgiveness towards?
Not really.
Okay. And other than the rock thing, is there anything else she should do to help her with the unforgiveness, or will that do the trick, so to speak? If she puts that into place and practices doing that.
Yeah, practice doing that. Yeah.
And going back to the topic of worthiness, would it be beneficial if you were to download the program into her of the knowledge or the knowing of how to be worthy, as in, I know how to be worthy? Would that be beneficial for her or no?
Yes.
Okay. Could you do that for her and show her what that looks like and tell us what you're doing as you do it?
Okay, so it'll start with getting comfortable with feeling lighter, lightening that load. Oh gosh, something about acceptance. Acceptance. I don't know. Acceptance. I just keep hearing that. I don't.
Okay. Does that have to do with self-acceptance or something else? Or acceptance of something?
Yeah, acceptance of something.
And what would that something be?
Um, the good stuff. Um,
Like
Good
what?
opportunities, good experiences, good lessons, good people.
Is there anything else that can be done to help her with the issue of worthiness? Or have we covered it thoroughly enough?
Yeah, just the acceptance of good things. The worthiness is it's a feeling of not deserving. So when good things come, it's like she pushes them away or turns away or something. So accepting good, feeling deserving of good things, worthy of good things.
Would self-talk or affirmations along the lines of saying things to herself and talking to herself about how she deserves good things, would something like that help her?
Yes. almost being grateful for them before they come.
And what about safety and protection? Are you able to, would it benefit her to ask you to download Creator's definition of safety and protection into her and remove any previous definitions she was going off of regarding safety and protection?
Yes.
Could you do that for her now, please? Show her what it looks like and tell us what you're doing as you do it.
Well, that's a tough one. It's going to have to be an inner knowing that you're safe. It's hard. It's hard to constantly feel that way. But yeah, it'll be an inner knowing that she'll develop.
And is that something also that self-talk and affirmations can help her with? Affirmations of like, um, I choose to feel safe and protected. I know in my
Yes.
innermost being that I'm safe and protected, things like that.
Yes, absolutely. It'll help her to get in touch with that part. So it's uh, yeah, it makes it like stronger or bigger or more easily tapped into.
And so and would it benefit her to have the feeling like I know how to feel safe and protected downloaded into her?
Yes.
Are you able to do that for her now?
Yes.
Could you show her what that looks like and tell us what you're doing as you do it?
It's still that connection with that inner knowing. It's that it's that nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. It's that concept. Physical body is constantly on high alert. So it's going to take time to connect with that inner knowing of safety. I don't know that her body will ever fully calm down.
So, other than self talk and affirmations, what are some things that she could do to increase the feeling and the knowledge inside of her of being safe and protected?
I don't think I have any other ideas yet.
Okay. Why did she choose the father that she did?
Something about her mom.
What about her mom?
she had to be here with her as her mom. So
And the mom chose him to be her husband, and she just kind of got the whole package deal. Is that what happened?
yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Did she know what she was really getting into before she got here?
Um, he hadn't chosen yet. He hadn't chosen to be that bad yet.
Why did he choose to be that bad?
I want to say that he was here to teach, but he's not even that. It's not even that. It's like it's like he quit. Like he quit on himself, or his soul quit, or something. Um,
So
yeah, he
did
just
he?
kind of succumbed.
Oh, okay. After he got here?
Yeah,
So the pre-birth plan wasn't that he would be that awful, and it changed
right.
once he got down here? Okay. So isn't that almost kind of unfair, so to speak, for someone like Lyndsie, who says, yes, I'll go down, I'll be in this life, I'll be Lyndsie, without knowing that she's going to be completely sideswiped by someone so evil? Isn't that almost kind of like unfair for her that she didn't really necessarily sign up for that?
Uh, no, she learned a lot. It's okay. She's um, strong enough to have handled it. And if it wasn't him, it would have been somebody else.
What do you mean it would have been somebody else?
Um, the lessons would have been learned anyway. Not in the same way, but um,
But the same lessons?
yeah.
And then we were talking about her niece with the first initial of her name being A. Is there any generational healing that you could facilitate that would benefit her niece, A, who also happens to be the victim of some pretty awful verbal and emotional abuse by her father, which is Lyndsie's brother? Is there any generational healing that you could facilitate that would benefit her?
Try.
Okay. What would that healing look like? Could you tell us what you're doing as you do that?
So she's really strong and took this on. She took this on. So same thing. At some point, there'll be a need for compassion and understanding to
From
people
the
who
niece?
hurt her. Yeah.
So she'll need to learn that.
Yeah. She I don't know. God, let's fix it. I don't know. There's so many different ways it's coming at her that, yeah, okay. So it's almost like it's going to have to stop with her. I don't know that there's fixing anybody around her. So the trick will be to make sure she doesn't do it to the next generation.
Did she know and choose to come down here to be the one to break that generational chain?
Not necessarily, but she can do it.
So does this type of abuse that the father inflicted on his children, which is Lyndsie's brother, and now the niece is Lyndsie's brother's daughter, is experiencing it, does it go back in generations, or did it kind of start with Lyndsie's dad?
Yeah, no, it goes back. Yeah.
So I guess that's what I'm asking. Is it possible to heal that generational pattern so that it can also bring some benefit to the niece and she can pick up and grab it and then also go backwards to heal the generations prior if they would like to receive healing for that? Is that possible?
I suppose. I don't know how to do it. I don't know.
Is that something Lyndsie might be able to figure out on her own if she wanted to figure out how to do something like that and then send healing and light through the generational line if she wanted to?
Yeah, think.
What actions can Lyndsie take to best help her niece A?
Consistent, be there consistently, be the consistent. Consistency is going to be key.
Anything else?
Yeah, be there to pick up the pieces.
Is it possible for you to work with her niece A with her higher self or even on your own and wrap A in a bubble of unconditional love and light so that she can feed off of that instead of feeding off the abusive words and actions thrown at her by others? Is that possible?
Yes.
Could you do that now, please, and show her what that looks like and tell us what you're doing as you do it?
Yeah, so yeah, connecting with her higher self. And yeah, um, yeah, so it magnifies. Yeah, it magnifies the love. Yeah, yeah, wrapping. Yeah, um, wrapping her in that unconditional love. Yeah, bathing her in that. Yes.
Can we make it permanent? Is that possible? Or as long
Yes.
as A wants it there? Okay. And how will this help her in her life, having that bubble surrounding her of unconditional love and light, so she can feed off of that instead of the abusive words? How will that change her life now that she's got that compared to how it would be different if she didn't have that?
She'll be more able to come out of it, to recover from it. When and if she's ready.
Is there anything else we could offer her niece A to help her in the environment that she lives in, or is that good?
I think that's good.
Okay. Should Lyndsie continue to have a relationship with her sister? And if yes, what should that relationship look like going forward, or should she sever ties?
Um, yeah, just, yeah, let her come back. Sister come back. Yeah. I just see like a rope or a cord between the two of them, and I just put down Lyndsie's side part. Just set it down on the ground. Let it go.
You mean drop the connection?
Yeah, yeah,
Was it an unhealthy connection?
yeah. That, yeah. If the sister wants it back, she can come back. Doesn't need to remain there at all times.
So would Lyndsie benefit from regularly cutting cords with different people in her life and protecting her energetic space?
Uh, yeah, yeah, doesn't keep a lot of cords connected.
Oh, okay. Was she meant to stay married to her ex-husband and have a family with him? Was that part of their pre-birth plan or no?
I don't. It's like a yes, no answer. It could have. She could have stayed. Yes. Didn't. Didn't have to.
So there was no like firm pre-birth plan. It was kind of up in the air, could have gone either way.
Yeah.
She said she remembers having like a vision or a dream where she felt like it might have been a parallel reality or another dimension where um, she saw herself being married and having a couple of children. What was that about?
That's future.
So was she tapping into that?
Yeah, but I don't know that it was this lifetime. It's like a different one, a future one.
Okay. So that is a future lifetime?
Yeah.
Does she have hold on, I'm sorry. Let me Let me go in order here so I don't get lost. What lessons, if any, were there for her in the relationship she had with that narcissistic guy? The one you said she still holds some unforgiveness towards.
Oh, yeah, the worthy. She had to work through the worthiness.
Anything else?
Yeah, the illusion of love. Um, the illusion of love from that person indicated worthiness. And
Her trying to get him to love her.
yeah, so that she could feel worthy. And it's, yeah, which, yeah, didn't work, obviously.
Any other lessons, or that was the main one?
Yeah, that was the main one.
Does she have any cords other than the unforgiveness? Does she have any other cords or attachments to him in any way? Or is it just the unforgiveness that's kind of tying or holding her to him?
Um, there'll be, I mean, nothing anymore in this lifetime, but the next
Oh, they're
next
going to
one.
incarnate together again?
Yeah, or yeah, or they already have one of the two, or both.
So, in her career, she does disability and physical activity, a type of CrossFit for people with disabilities, and the progress they see with it is far beyond what any rehabilitation facility could give anyone. She wants to get funding for this program so more people can have access to it, but she feels like she's being blocked from getting that funding. What is the blocking? What is blocking that from happening? And can you remove that block, or what can she do? What steps can she take to help remove that block?
Ugh. I don't know.
Is that something she's supposed to be giving her time, intention, attention, and focus on, or is there something else she should be focusing her efforts on?
Uh, no, it's fine. I think it's fine. I don't know why I can't hear anything.
Do you have any advice or direction you could give her with regards to her career and doing this type of work that would be fulfilling and in her highest and best good?
Some link. I don't know. God. Oh my gosh, I don't know. I'm so sorry. It's like nothing is
Okay.
coming.
Okay. And what can you tell us about Hank? Beloved, beautiful Hank. Did he plan on having a physical life outside the womb pre-birth, or was his plan just to be alive inside the womb?
He has come all the way through before.
With her?
Yeah,
In other lives?
yeah,
And what was their relationship? Were they parent-child, or what was their relationship in other lives?
yeah, parent child.
Were those good lives? Happy relationships? Strained relationships?
Yeah, good, good, real good.
So in this life, did he plan? Was his plan originally to be able to be born?
I
And
don't think so.
okay. Was it because the body was inferior or defective for what he needed it to be? And that's what happened, and he'll come again? Or does he not have a plan to come again in this lifetime? What is that?
I think yes and yes.
He does have a plan to come again?
Yes, and the, well, maybe, and the body was, you're right, like defective.
Okay. Is he going to come again to her?
I don't know yet. Nobody knows yet.
So why did she experience everything she did with that pregnancy and the difficult time? And I mean, was there some sort of lesson or purpose or experience in all of that that she was okay having?
Yeah, unconditional love.
But here's my question. Was it worth learning that lesson of unconditional love by in turn also experiencing so much heartache, pain, and trauma? Does her soul think that was worth it?
Yeah, yeah.
So why did her soul want to go through so much pain and heartache and trauma to experience unconditional love?
I don't know.
Is there anything that you are able to do, even if perhaps it's with her higher self and her guides or any other beings of light, her angels, to give her a really strong boost, I guess I'll call it, in healing that heartache from the physical loss of Hank? Is there anything that you're able to do?
Uh, just take it when she's ready to let it go. Doesn't want to let it go.
Oh, why doesn't she want to let it go?
Because then the love will go too.
Is that true? That the love will go to? Or is that an illusion or a belief she has?
Yeah, it's a belief. It's a
But it's
belief.
not true, is it? It's not true
No,
that the love will go to, is it?
no.
So are you able to help her by seeing the truth in that illusory belief and pulling that belief from her, sending it to Creator's life and downloading the truth instead into her heart? Is she willing to have that happen?
Yeah, it's really blocked. It's really tight. Ugh, yeah, it's too. It's just tight.
Is there anything you're able to do to help loosen it up? Maybe zap it with unconditional love and light or something like that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just holding it in love and light. Yeah, yeah,
Could you surround that belief? Because now I guess she's created it to be something, right? She's created that belief that if she lets go of the pain, it will let go of the love too. It's a creation that she made, is that right?
yeah,
Are you able to surround that creation, that belief that she has? Just surround it with layers and layers and layers of unconditional love and light so
yeah.
that that can
The
eventually seep through.
the pain is love. It already is love.
Okay. Then I guess could we surround it with, I'm trying to get at surrounding it with truth, the fact that it's not true that the love will go too if the pain
Oh,
goes.
yeah, yeah. It's okay. I think it's because the pain is love. It's okay. It's okay. It's it's her version of love right now.
Okay. That's best just to leave it?
Yeah.
Okay. I was just trying to find her some relief. Is there anything we can do to help with her heart? Or does she just have to get through this?
Um, yeah, we can meet it with love.
Okay. Could you do that?
Yeah.
So did she know that this was going to happen before she came here? Was this a pre-birth plan, or was this kind of another one of those things that went awry once she was down here on Earth that kind of sideswiped her?
I think it was pre-planned. If not this exactly, something like this.
And did Hank's father agree to play a part in this?
Yes.
Was he meant before they came down here? Was he meant? Did he tell her that he would be so, I guess I'll use the words cold and callous about the whole thing? Or was he meant to be more supportive and loving for her as she went through it?
Yeah, that was part of his lesson or challenge.
To be more loving through it?
Yeah.
And he didn't pass that lesson, I'm assuming?
Right.
Did Lyndsie know that it could go either way before she came down here?
Yeah. Yeah, it could have gone either way. It was his free will, his choice.
Does Hank have any messages for Lyndsie?
That he's right there. He's always right there.
Does he ever give her any signs or symbols or send her messages in any way that she can be aware of so she can be so she can feel them more, experience them more?
She's doing better at tapping into him or listening. No signs yet. Maybe dreams eventually.
Does she have any trauma stored in her physical or energetic body as a result of quote unquote losing Hank?
Yeah.
Where is that stored in her body?
The heart and the like the sacral area.
Are you able to remove that stored trauma and send it to Creator's light and replace it instead? Unconditional love and light?
Yes.
Would you do that now, please? Show her what it looks like and tell us what you're doing as you do it.
A lot of color. It's a lot of color. It's like reds and pinks. Okay, and then green. For like healing. Green is healing.
Green is healing.
Yeah.
So is that stored trauma in our heart and sacral chakra? Is it all removed or are you still working on it?
Yeah, it's gonna take time, but yeah, the process is started.
Is there any other healing you can give her surrounding that whole situation to help her heal her heart?
Yeah, she just has to ask.
And when she asks, who is she asking?
Any uh any of us?
And who's us?
Um I don't know.
Would it be her guides, her higher self, you, the law of
Yeah.
wisdom? Okay,
Yeah, higher I think higher self.
okay. Can her higher self give her pretty much any healing that she's open to receiving?
Yes. Yes.
Does she have a soul contract with another soul to be his or her mother in this lifetime?
Yes.
Is it a child with Down syndrome or no?
Um Not that I can see.
Okay. Will it be a child through adoption or birth? What does that process look like?
Um yeah, birth, one birth for sure.
So she's going through a process now of having a home study done to become an adoptive parent. If everything stays on the timeline that it is right now, does that look like it will be a fruitful endeavor or no?
Yes.
Okay. And are you able um, to tell her if they will be male or female child or children or how many there would be? total that she could be the mother of in this lifetime? How many contracts she has?
Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts, but yeah, the two, the male and the female.
So does she have any issues with being able to become pregnant now, or has she overcome that?
Something will work.
Is there any healing that could be done that we could do in this session to bring any healing to any of her female organs to make them all in beautiful working condition for her to be able to conceive a child and carry it to the end of the pregnancy?
Yeah.
And what does that healing look like? Could you tell us what you're doing as you do it?
It's very, feels very gentle. Yeah, very, it feels very delicate and gentle. There's no forcing that area.
Is that healing all done, or are you still working on that?
Yeah, it's going to be ongoing. So it's, yeah, it's good. It's just different. It's different because it's got to be gentle.
So, was there anything wrong or malfunctioning with her female organs before when doctors told her she would not be able to conceive, or was there truly nothing wrong with her female organs?
Yeah, just the eggs, just the not very many eggs, not very many good eggs.
So, part of the healing that you're doing will be to help her body produce good eggs. Or are you able to set that in motion as part of that gentle healing?
Yeah, I could try. Yeah, or almost repairing bad ones.
Oh, okay. Nice. She feels like she blew her chance by getting divorced from her first husband and doesn't necessarily feel like she deserves a new partner. Are you able, that's a belief, is that right?
Yeah, but it's wrong.
Are you able to heal her from that belief? Could you heal her from that belief and tell us what you're doing as you do it?
Yeah, it's like done already.
Okay,
I don't know how, but
nice. So does she have any blocks to attracting a new partner?
um, worthiness will help. Working on the worthiness will help.
Any other blocks?
Yeah, maybe just with the heart, something with the heart.
I'm sorry, what with the heart?
There's something with the heart. I'm already working on it.
Okay.
Yeah, the worthiness work will, the forgiveness, worthiness work will help.
Okay. Is she meant or have an agreement to meet a new partner in the near future?
Uh, possibly, yes, possibly.
What do you mean by possibly?
It's kind of got to work on like both ends.
Oh, they both got work to do?
Um, um, they both have to agree.
Okay. So they haven't agreed yet?
Right.
Is there anything that Lyndsie can do on her end to foster that to happen?
Uh, yeah, openness. There's a staying open. And it might take an actual meeting for anybody to decide.
What do you mean a meeting?
They have to meet in order
Okay.
to decide.
Is there just one prospect? Or are there
Uh,
potentially more than one person that she could have as a partner?
oh, I only see one right now. That doesn't mean that there can't be more.
Is there anything she could do to help manifest the perfect partner for herself?
Yeah, the worthy work, the forgiveness, the putting down those stones. Something about femininity.
Okay. Are you able to tell us a little bit about the femininity?
Um, yeah, I think there's a lot of masculine energy. With the forgiveness, the soft
I'm sorry.
comes,
Okay, yeah.
yeah, with the forgiveness comes some sort of more feminine energy.
So is it kind of off balance right now?
Yeah, 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 way more masculine energy. Maybe it's just really wounded feminine energy. So that needs to be healed so it can grow.
So it's almost like it's stunted if it's there.
Damaged.
Okay. So it sounds like worthiness and forgiveness are big lessons for her in this life. Is that right?
Yes.
So if she masters worthiness and forgiveness, can she expect huge change for the good in her life to happen?
Uh,
I'm sorry?
yeah, I think so. I don't think anything's hinging on it per
Oh,
se,
okay.
but yeah, yeah, there's a balancing of the feminine that needs to be repaired and allowed to come up and out up to the surface.
What did she plan for her purpose here to be? What is it, her current career or is it something else?
There's a immediate, it's like a mix. There needs to be a mix between um, the career and something that's not career related. Gosh, it's not very clear.
Are you able to hone in and see what the non-career related thing might be?
Um, I can't, yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so. It's like not kids, but big kids, um,
It's big kids?
like young adults or
Oh, okay.
teenagers or something.
Is it helping them in some way?
Yeah, yeah, their bodies, moving their bodies.
And what can Lyndsie do to be more whole? What steps can she take? Anything other than what you've already said?
Shoot, I had it and then it went away really quick.
And if you could bring that back to her mind and slow it down, that would be amazing for her to be able to grab onto and to
Uh, there's,
relate.
yeah, there's a group. There's more. There's like group work, group. Something about a group. God, of people. Group work is what I keep seeing.
Is it like a group therapy type of thing?
Oh, maybe.
Grief processing group or something like that, or something totally different?
Yeah, like like an AA meeting, like people sitting around in chairs in a circle. Interesting.
So would that be something like maybe a grief parent for a grief group for parents who have lost children or something like that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, but it goes into spirituality somehow too.
And is it her participating in it or participating and then eventually leading one or having her own group, or how does that look?
Yeah, like she's a member, but also a participant. Oh, they're the same thing. Um, yeah, I don't know. I don't know who leads it. Nobody leads it. Well, that's not true. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
Feels like women, though.
Okay. Are you able to do a body scan on her and let her know if there's any physical issues in her body that she needs to be aware of that could benefit from some healing?
Digestion.
Okay. What's going on there?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't even know how to fix it.
What's the root cause of the digestive issues?
I can't tell if it's genetics or stress.
Are you able to heal it for her now?
Can try.
Okay, could you try to do that and tell us what you're doing as you do it?
Uh, but it's almost like a massage of the intestines.
Okay.
Just because they spasm a lot. Oh, okay. So part of the rocks, keeping all those rocks in there, are heavy. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So as the rocks get let go of, it'll calm the digestive system. The rocks of the pain and the lack of forgiveness and holding on to that anger.
Do her spirit guides have any messages for her that they would like to share with her?
I heard the name Joe.
What about Joe? Is Joe one of her guides?
I think so. Joe's with Hank. Joe's like all of our guides.
Is Hank an old, I guess if you think like in relative human terms, would Hank be considered like an older soul, a younger soul, kind of in the middle?
Yeah, he's pretty old.
He's been around a while,
Yeah.
knows what he's doing.
Most of those, the Down syndrome, are old.
Ah. So why do they choose to incarnate in a body with Down syndrome?
Nobody else could handle it. It's a lot of they're able gosh, love, something about love. They can teach better or love better that way.
So just to revisit the question I asked earlier, if the timeline stays the same as it is now, does it look like a good possibility that she would be able to adopt a child? And would
Yeah.
that child be Down syndrome or not? I think you said no, but is there a possibility she could?
Yes. 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 If that door stays open, yes.
Is there anything she can do herself to help manifest that into becoming a reality?
Yeah. Um, yeah. Just not, maybe not forcing it, just not getting like fear and frantic and frustrated. Just let it, yeah, just keep the door open.
Maybe just trust the process?
Yeah. Yeah.
If Lyndsie takes all of the information from this session and incorporates it into her life, how will her life be different compared to what it would have been like had she not done this session?
Uh, Growth, lots of growth, spiritual growth, wisdom gained, um, um, able to be more compassionate to some people, um, able to bring up that feminine, bring up and out the feminine. There's a vulnerability with the feminine that came with the pregnancy, and now it's gone.
So the pendulum almost kind of swung the other direction.
Uh, yeah, yeah, it was a really uncomfortable vulnerability.
As the law of wisdom, are you able to download wisdom into her as to how and what she can do to balance out that masculine and feminine energy within herself?
Yeah, that's the irony. The wisdom is the masculine. So the wisdom is the masculine. So the love, compassion, forgiveness is the feminine.
So it's her choosing more love, compassion, and forgiveness that will help balance out the energies.
Yeah.
Do you have any final messages for her before we end this session?
Yes, lead with love. Try leading with love.
That would make a great affirmation. I lead with love, wouldn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's usually the last thing to happen. Instead it should maybe try it as the first.
It's beautiful. Anything else? Any other messages for her?
Yeah, you're okay. Okay.
Are we good to end the session, or is there anything else you would like to add?
No, I think that's good. Wow.
First impressions.
Oh, sometimes yeah, sometimes it was easier to hear than others. I assume that was just me blocking something, but sometimes it was like I can hear this, I know this, it's coming, and then other times it was like, oh, I'm doing something wrong because I can't hear anything.
Yeah, like especially when we were talking about your career and the grants and not getting the grants, it was just like you weren't able to hear anything.
Wait,
Yeah.
do other people have that
That
have that
happens.
problem?
That does happen sometimes. It's not with everyone, no. But yeah, for whatever reason, maybe you didn't want to hear the answer. Maybe you just, I mean, who knows? Who knows why? I guess I could have followed up and asked the question, like, why is she putting up a block to that answer? You know, I guess the next
Yeah.
time I can think about that, like, what is she blocking it for? What's she trying to hide? Or what does she not want to hear? Maybe your personality, your persona is afraid of the answer. I don't know, you know?
Oh, maybe. Yeah. Yeah. Weird.
A good answer for next time. I mean, a good question for next time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Use the on. So what did you think?
Um, yeah, there's just a lot of there's I mean I remember all of it, and it was just weird how it would be easier to hear sometimes, and it definitely felt like I was connected, and then other times I was just, yeah, it was really good though. That past life was interesting, and then I cried at one point. I was like, I don't know if I was crying for myself, or it was about Hank, but I don't know why.
Hmm.
Like a collective grief. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, your higher self stepped out because the grief was just so thick. It felt like it couldn't do the job, I guess.
Oh, okay. Is that it?
Like,
Okay.
so yeah, so you had the law of wisdom there. The law of wisdom was very gentle, right?
Yeah, that was
Yeah,
good. Yeah,
very gentle.
I needed that to like. Yeah, you're right. You were right. That was good. That was really good. Thank you.
So that's why I was like, well, who can help her?
Yeah,
If you
yeah,
yourself can't really feel like it's can do the job right now and get the healing or the message through, then what can help her? The law of wisdom. So yeah, the law of truth probably would have been a little too blunt for you.
really. Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
I told you the law of truth is pretty straightforward, blunt. Here's the answer. Boom, boom, boom. No sugar coating,
Yeah,
I love the law of truth. I told you that. But,
yeah.
but yeah, this was a much more gentle um,
Okay,
energy that came through. So that was pretty awesome.
okay. Yeah, I'll
Um,
have to try that law of truth next time.
yeah, yeah. But you have a lot of notes to read on
Okay,
worthiness and forgiveness and the
okay.
whole rocks thing. That is just fascinating. Taking the rocks out and setting them down on the earth, and then eventually, when you get tired of carrying it around and taking it out and setting it down, you'll leave it there.
Yeah, yeah. The metaphor of the heavy, awkward. Let me
Yeah.
carry this around. Yep.
And then how the trees transmute the energy and sitting on the roots of big trees. Wow.
Yeah,
To help transmute the heavy energy.
yeah. The denseness. Yeah. Ugh.
Yeah. That's fascinating. Wow.
Yeah,
Trees are amazing.
yeah. I
They're
love trees.
amazing. Yeah. They're
Big
really
those big
amazing.
big old trees are just, their
Yeah.
energies are so nice.
Yeah. Now I'm starting to understand, like when I go in the backyard and I do my stretching in the morning, a little bit of yoga and get some sun to soak in some sun energy for healing and upgrades and downloads. I bring my husky out there with me and I
Oh,
tie him out and he loves laying on the roots of the big tree in the backyard.
does he really?
Yeah.
Oh, oh, that's so cute. Oh my gosh, you'll have to send a picture of him on the roots.
Yeah, so it kind of makes me think, oh, maybe
Yeah,
he's doing some work over there. I don't know.
he, yeah, he must be, yeah, cleansing himself. I
Yeah.
guess. Yeah,
Yeah, and he grounds himself all the time. He literally, he'll stick his, he'll stick his head down on the ground
yeah,
and he'll start rubbing his neck on the ground to get some grounding in. He loves the grass and he'll just walk and rub his neck on the ground. He'll flop
oh,
over and just rub his whole body on the grass and he just loves to
yeah,
ground. And I'm like, woo, look at you grounding there.
yeah, yeah. Oh, that's so cute. Oh my gosh, how adorable.
Yeah.
Oh,
He's a very grounded dog. He keeps me grounded.
I bet. Oh, I love it. What's his
Uh,
name?
Shadow. He's my soulmate.
Oh, oh, that's so sweet.
Uh-huh. I love him to pieces. So, worthiness and
Yeah.
forgiveness. I highlighted some things in there. And
Okay.
surrounding your niece A with that bubble of unconditional love. Wasn't that awesome?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, the law of
Yeah.
wisdom was definitely able to give her that. So, that was a beautiful gift, you know?
Yeah.
Um, see. And just talking about why you went through the whole experience with Hank. You learned unconditional love through that experience. And I said, was it worth the lesson in unconditional love to experience so much pain, trauma? Um, does her soul think it's worth it? And the answer was yes.
Oh, yeah.
To experience that unconditional love.
Yeah. But like human version unconditional love, not like source love.
Oh yeah, we already know. Yeah, our soul is already connected completely and knows that. We come down here to experience What is it like to not constantly be in unconditional love, right? Because
Oh,
it's like anything, it's hard to truly, truly, truly understand and appreciate something if we've never experienced its opposite.
yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
like the norm, you know?
Right.
Um, I said, can you do anything or give a boost to heal her from all that pain? And the law of wisdom said, just to take it when she's ready to let it go. She doesn't want to let it go. Why? Because then she believes the love will go true. The love will go too. That's a belief you have. It's not true. And I said, can you pull that belief from her and send it to Creator's light? It's really blocked. It's really tight. It's just tight. And I said, can you help loosen it up? Maybe zap it with unconditional love and light. Yes, just holding it in love and light. It's a creation that you made. I asked to have that belief surrounded with unconditional love and light. And the law of wisdom said that the pain you feel is already love. Because the pain is love, it's okay. It's her version of love right now. So it's best just to leave it.
Oh, wow. Wow. Yeah.
I said, is there anything you can do to help her, help with her heart? Or does she just have to get through this? And the law of wisdom said, we can meet it with love.
Yeah.
Hank said, he's right there. He's always right there. You're doing better at tapping into him or listening. He doesn't give you any signs yet, maybe dreams eventually. But he's an old soul. He's been around the block
Yeah.
more than a few times. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we just
Yeah.
need to remember too, like I remember with my children, that we don't own any other soul, right? Like we don't have dibs on another soul. They don't belong to us. I mean, they're a completely we're all one, obviously, right? But they're different souls. They're individual souls.
Okay.
While we're at the same time still one. So it's like I don't hold on to my children and feel like or have the belief that I, have control over their life or their destiny or their purpose or anything else, right? It's just
Yeah.
it's their individual path. We
Yeah.
cross paths, we come, we go. So as hard as it can seem for parents, and you're not at this stage yet because you're still very much grieving, right? But practicing non-attachment to everything and everyone in our lives by higher selves under hypnosis, they've told me, and I knew this. I made a TikTok on it a while ago, but having non-attachment,
Okay.
loving without attachment, is incredibly healthy.
Okay.
Having unconditional love, knowing that we are all obviously connected, but without an attachment, because attachment comes pain and suffering. When we attach ourselves to anything, a dream, right? A dream dies, or a career falls apart, or a spouse cheats or leaves you, or whatever, and then we feel like our life is over, and we experience suffering because we were attached. We can love without attachment.
Huh. Okay. That's a
Just something,
tough one, but yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Just something to put away and file for future reference and kind of maybe
Okay.
ponder on, right?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I will definitely.
Like I said, you're not there yet because you're still in grief. And I know what that's like. I told you we talked about this. I definitely know what that's like, right?
Yeah.
You feel like you're never going to get out of it.
Right.
No, it's like this.
Right.
It's like you're in this bottom of this pit. How am I ever going to get out of this? Do I want to get
Right.
out of it? No, because I don't want to get out of it because I don't want the pain to go away because then it means I'm not going to love her. I don't want to forget about it. I mean,
Right.
I was volunteering at an what do you call that? An assisted living place one time, and I remember talking with a woman in the lobby, and she was telling me a story about years ago how her, and this was not too many years after my daughter had died, right? And she was
Yeah.
telling me a story about her son, and he was 8 years old, and they were on a boat, and the son fell overboard off the boat when they were boating, just having a family day on the boat, and he drowned.
Oh my God.
Right? And she was telling me this story, and she showed zero emotion when she was telling me this story. And that
Wow.
was unfathomable to me at that stage where I was, because I was still very much in grief, right? And
Yeah.
I couldn't even imagine ever getting to the point. And she was very old, right? So it had happened many, many, many years ago. The boy was 8 at the time. But I couldn't ever imagine getting to the point of being able to tell a story like that and not breaking down and crying and shedding tears, because gosh, is she so detached from the love she felt from that boy? And has so much time gone where she's basically forgotten, almost not forgotten him, but almost forgotten. She just talked about him so casually.
Yeah.
Just struck me so, like, wow. And
Yeah.
I just thought, I don't ever want to get to that point, you know? And
Yeah.
so it's kind of reinforced in me. I don't want to let go of the pain because I don't want to be like that.
Right.
Because it just felt like almost like she didn't really love him anymore
Right.
because of the way she was just so casually and coolly talking about him.
Right.
Of
Okay.
course, probably definitely not true. She probably still loves him very much, right? But
Yeah. Yeah.
she had gone through so much healing over so many years that she was able to get to that point. And I'm beginning to understand it more now, you
Yeah.
know, because like I said, I can actually tell the story and not break down completely crying about my daughter, right? But
Yeah.
I never imagined getting there. But I know and I see from this side of the bridge that I don't love her any less than the day I did when I held her in my arms, right?
Interesting. Okay. Yeah.
So,
Wow, that's a great story. Thank you. Gosh,
yeah.
that poor woman. Oh,
Yeah. Yeah. So, sounds like you have some soul contracts with some more kids. Yay!
yeah. Yeah.
And that the law of wisdom started the process of very gentle healing of your female organs and healing the bad eggs.
Yeah. Yeah, that was interesting.
That's interesting. And then you'll have to read up on what it says about the possibility of having a new partner. And again, here it is again, working on the worthy and forgiveness, laying down those stones, and then balancing the masculine and feminine energy.
Yeah.
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 Which is wild because, and I guess I could have brought this question up. I didn't think of it until just now. But one of the things, among many things, that my higher self has me do when I lay in the sun, because it has me lay in the sun for like, a little bit of time every single day that it's sunny out and get nutrition and vitamins and nutrients
Mhm.
and, all kinds of healing. But one of the things my higher self told me to do is set the intention one day when I was out in the sun that it would also help balancing masculine and feminine energies in me.
Oh, wow.
Oh, I wouldn't have thought of that.
Yeah.
So
Oh, that's cool.
yeah, I thought that was interesting. So maybe even turn to the sun for a little bit of that.
Okay.
Um, body scan, digestion. It's the rocks being held in that area.
Yeah.
Um, and something to do with young adults or teenagers, helping them in some way moving their bodies is also part of your purpose. And then what else can you do
Yeah.
to be more whole? It looks like a grief circle, grief group, support group type thing.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
Um, Joe is with Hank. Joe is like all of your guides. Hank's a,
Yeah.
Hank's a pretty old soul. Um, Anything you can do to help adopt a Down syndrome baby? If the door stays open, can you do anything to manifest this? Yes, maybe not, by not forcing it, not getting in fear or frantic or frustrated. Just keep the door open and trust the process.
Yeah.
Just trust that, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. Everything happens for a reason. Everything happens exactly like it should. one of your affirmations. An affirmation journal would be amazing for you. Like if you start an
Okay.
affirmation journal, even put them on 3x5 cards and have them in front of you all the time. And every time your mind starts to wander to belief systems that deep down are not true, right?
Yeah.
Like belief that if you don't have this pain, it means you don't have the love also, right? Like deep down,
Yeah.
that's not true, deep down, right?
Right.
And so just any affirmations that you can have your higher self, or I mean the law of wisdom here said, the self-talk and the affirmations will be good. I trust the process. When you think about adoption or having a baby, I choose to trust the process. I choose to trust life. I choose to trust the universe,
Yeah.
right? And just saying those and seeing them in front of you and feeling the energy of those as you speak them, or maybe sitting outside under a tree on the roots, getting some sun with
Yeah.
your feet on the ground, and then you're saying your affirmations. Wow, that'd be like a power packed little sitting.
Yeah.
No,
But
yeah, I lead with love. That was another affirmation said it would be a good affirmation. I lead with love. I'm taking that one. I'm going to use
okay. Good.
I lead with love. And the law of wisdom said it's usually the last thing to happen, but maybe try it as the first.
Yeah.
Lead with love. I lead with love.
Yeah. Yeah, I can conceptualize that. I just can't feel it. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, it's
Okay.
taking the affirmations and turning them into self-talk and then feeling the energy behind the words. So that's how
Okay.
affirmations can be so powerful, is they become powerful when you put the emotion behind it.
Okay.
Right? And so just really focusing on and feeling the emotion behind it.
Okay.
Like I lead with love and just feel into that
Okay.
or whatever the affirmation is.
Yeah, I can
Right.
do that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Yeah.
Anything else before we wrap it up?
No, that was great. I got a lot of work to do.